The Pacific Northwest doesn't have nearly the same amount of recognition, attention, spotlight, or heck, even the same weather as some of the bigger cities, some of the bigger markets, some of the glamour markets that the US has to offer. And by that, I'm talking about cities like Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Boston, Miami. Shall I go on? I think you get the point. However, what the Pacific Northwest does have to offer are some of the most dynamic and unique superstars in their respective sports in sports history. I'm talking about the NBA's Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers and the NFL's Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. And for those of you who might not be local, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term PNW, it pretty much just refers to the Pacific Northwest, and it pretty much includes the state of Washington, state of Oregon, a little bit of the northern part of California, British Columbia, and Canada, maybe a little bit of Alaska. If we want to get geographical with it, I'd say the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest. And so that part of the map on the US that people, at least if you're not in the area, don't really pay attention to. An overall lack of success, compounded by the fact that Dame and Russ aren't exactly in glamour markets that'll enhance their shine, has led to speculation amongst a lot of people, a lot of fans, that both, or one of the two, or maybe none of the two, could have their days numbered in the PNW. Which begs the question, barring an unrealistic scenario or a circumstance in which both of these superstars end up retiring with their respective teams, which of these two do you see staying and lasting longer in the PNW? Before we hop on the subject, please, and real quick, y'all, we're about 23 subscribers away from hitting 3,000. And so I know I've refrained from asking people to subscribe in the beginning of videos, but please, y'all, we wanted to end 2021 off on a great note. But obviously, if you watched our last episode, there were a lot of things that kind of kept us away from reaching some of our goals. And so we do want to open 2022 and kick it off with a bang. So there's 23 people out there. You know what? I'm not even going to stop at 23. If you guys could just help us get to 3,000 plus subscribers, we would greatly appreciate it. And again, don't forget to follow us on our other socials, on Instagram, which we've been using a lot more. Twitter, we've been using tremendously. And TikTok, on the same handle, Steezy A Smith, SteezyASmith. Now that we got that out the way, let's hop right into the subject, y'all.
Here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the.
There have been plenty of parallels between both Damian Lillard and Russell Wilson, especially as it pertains to this season. Both guys have been known to be among some of the most durable athletes in their respective sports. Prior to this year, Damian Lillard had only missed 48 out of a possible 730 games. And while he's missed 14 on the year already, his career high of missed games in a season was 15 of last year, which he's probably going to exceed this year, seeing as how he's going to be out for the next 6 to 8 weeks because of abdomen surgery. One thing's for certain, the Portland Trailblazers are not a very good team without him. The same can be said for Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. Prior to this year, Russell Wilson was probably the NFL's premier Iron Man, having never missed a game, never even missed a practice prior to this year. Russell Wilson was probably the most durable player in the NFL. In 161 career games, Russell Wilson has played in 158. That means he's only missed 3 games. And so he missed all 3 of those games this year. Seattle's record without him in those games in which he didn't finish, 1-3, which is probably the biggest factor in why Seattle didn't make the playoffs this year. Portland, on the other hand, in the 14 games that Damian Lillard has missed this year, the Blazers are 6-8. And seeing as how they're already so far down, or so far out of the playoffs, it's very unlikely that Damian Lillard even plays another game for the Blazers this year. But aside from this year, and aside from the weirdness of both of them having suffered, their first sort of injury that have kind of knocked them out for a longer period of time, there's so many other similarities between these two superstars. First, these guys just don't get any sort of MVP love whatsoever. Russell Wilson, as we all know, unfortunately, has never received an MVP vote in his entire career. I took a second of silence there because I just wanted everyone to kind of just take that in for a second. How ridiculous, how crazy, how blasphemous is it that Russell Wilson, a consensus top 5 quarterback in the National Football League, has never received an MVP vote in his entire career? Damian Lillard, on the other hand, has only had one top 5 MVP finish, and that was back in 2017-2018, in which he finished 4th. He's had better years since then. Heck, he even averaged 30 points a game last year, and still, he does not get the same sort of MVP love that he should be getting. Another similarity between the two, none of these guys have really had any sort of playoff success in recent memory. In 10 years, Damian Lillard has gotten out of the first round just 3 times. So you're telling me that 30% of his career he spent playing past the first round. The other 70% of his career he spent either getting packed in the first round or not making the playoffs. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, has made the playoffs in all but 2 seasons of his illustrious 10-year career, but hasn't been past the divisional round since 2016. And to make matters worse, since 2017, Russell Wilson has 1 playoff victory. 1 playoff victory. I repeat, 1 playoff victory since 2017. That's less than the consensus worst team of football, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have 2 since 2017. Not only has national spotlight and MVP love eluded these two, playoff success has eluded these two. Another comparison that I could make between the two is the fact that while their teams have looked absolutely awful and pathetic without them, even with them, they're, yes, a playoff lock pretty much every year. And I'm talking about the Blazers, I'm talking about the Seahawks, but they're not really locked to go any further than that. They're not really locked. They're not really favorites to go any further than just making the playoffs, maybe making it out of the first round. And so I don't know if that's a sign of both these guys being surrounded by mediocrity, and I'm talking about in the front office, I'm talking about along the roster in terms of personnel, I'm talking about the coaching staff and things of that nature. But there's so many common things between these two. I'm starting to think that they could both be out of the Pacific Northwest in short order. Obviously, I'm not hoping that does come to fruition. I mean, I'm not a Portland Trailblazers fan, but I am a Damian Lillard fan. Definitely one of my more favorite players to watch. And because I do reside here in Seattle, we don't have an NBA team at the moment. And so the Blazers, while not my team, they are a team that I root for, but there's just not so much to root for this season. Plenty of rumors have swirled in the last couple of weeks, in the last year or so, especially for Damian Lillard. I mean, teams like the Philadelphia 76ers have been trying to, make an effort to trade for Damian Lillard. The Los Angeles Lakers, another major media market, they've tried, to get Damian Lillard. There's been so many other teams that have been in the hunt for Damian Lillard. But I think that the single biggest difference, a stark contrast between the two, is the fact that Damian Lillard, he's not a player like Russell Wilson, and where he thinks that winning is the end all be all. The legacy isn't exactly his end all be all. He's been on record saying that he's not going to join a super team. He's not going to leave Portland to join a major media market and form some sort of Fantastic Four, a big 3 with other superstars. He's not that type of guy. He's old school. And I'm not saying Russell Wilson is also that type of guy. These sports are different, but Russell Wilson is a guy who has said in the past, who is on record saying that legacy is everything to him. Winning is everything to him. And while he would like to do that in Seattle, it seems like, from my interpretation of things, he is also open to winning elsewhere. While Damian Lillard, on the other hand, is a complete juxtaposition of where Russell Wilson wants to go with his career. Damian Lillard would like to win a championship in Portland, but like I said, he values relationships, he values his fans, he values loyalty, he values all the love that he's gotten from Portland, and he wants to return it back, whether or not that ends up in a ring. And so I think you guys probably have an idea of where I'm leaning towards with those things having been said. I mean, with Russell Wilson, obviously trade rumors have been rampant since last offseason. And I did find it pretty suspicious. I don't know if you guys were watching the Manning cast on Monday Night Football just the other night, but Russell Wilson and I guess the Manning brothers had an agreement to not talk about anything Seahawks. And to me, that's a little fishy. I mean, we all saw last year, we all saw him take it to the media, to the national media. He aired out his grievances with the franchise, and it just became everything in the NFL as far as the rumor mill. And so we don't know what's going to happen this offseason. Obviously, he has been on record saying that he wants to remain in Seattle. He loves Seattle. He loves the fans. He has a lot going on here in Seattle. He's even building schools. He has schools over here, the Why Not You Academy. And so he definitely still has a lot riding for him. But seeing as how he prioritizes winning, it seems like more than Damian Lillard, I just don't know if Russell Wilson is going to be staying in the Pacific Northwest any longer than Damian Lillard. With that in mind, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who's going to be the last man standing in the PNW? Is it Damian Lillard for the Portland Trailblazers, or is it Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks? Right now, I'm probably going to lean towards Russell Wilson, and because I'm a betting man, I will put my money on Russell Wilson. And I'm not saying he's going to leave this year, but if it's not this year, it's maybe next year. If Seattle doesn't, or at least come close to winning the Super Bowl within the next couple years, I just feel like with the NFL, there's so many quarterback hungry teams out there that, maybe a team is willing to flip a bounty for Russell Wilson, an offer that the Seahawks can't refuse, seeing as how they've offered him in trade talks before. The Blazers, I don't think they've ever been crazy enough to have offered Damian Lillard, to have even floated his name around in trade talks. And so I just think that with Damian Lillard, he's willing to give the Blazers another chance. I mean, he never really gave Chauncey Billups a chance this year. And ever since Neil O'Shea got fired, they still haven't brought in a new GM. And so seeing as how this year has kind of been a wash for the Blazers, I see Damian Lillard coming back next year and at least giving this team some time to be able to build around him. I mean, why not give him a chance? Russell Wilson, meanwhile, he spent all of his career with Pete Carroll, with John Schneider. And so I just don't know if he has the same sort of patience. Obviously, I would love for that to not be the case, and I would love for Seattle to go all in terms of what they're able to do to the roster, to the personnel this offseason. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Who remains longer, Dame or Russ? Or do they both leave at the same time? Or do they both retire with their respective teams? I want to know what you guys think. If you guys have any sort of video ideas for our next video, we have so many different topics that we want to discuss, but I'm not exactly sure what topic we want to touch on next. But what I do know is that we will be hosting a weekly live stream show every single week, and so that is in the works. That will come within the next week or so. There will be an announcement on the community tab, so definitely be sure to stay tuned for that. Again, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials, on Instagram, on Twitter, at TikTok, at Steezy Smith, SteezySmith. Again, if you aren't already subscribed, please help us get to 3K. And as always, nothing but love, all glory to God. Steezy out. Again, this video is gonna be dedicated to Mr. Todd Nas. While that concludes this video, we have loads of other content. You don't have to stop watching there. Other content on our channel homepage, as well as our social media platforms. And again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for us. Tell a friend and tell a friend. Nothing but love, and Steezy out.